So I somewhat recently won the May Victory Road Challenge, and today we're going to be watching my top 8 game from that challenge, and it is against Eden Batchelor, who is a UK player, a very strong UK player, the current Stuttgart Regional Champion. I believe they've been playing since like 2012. I know they've been playing longer than me. Very strong player and very experienced, and they have a team of Miraidon, Lunala, grimmsnarl, Iron Hands, ursaluna and volcarona. A big thing to note from the open team sheet is that Miraidon is Terra Electric with Parabolic Charge instead of the normal Terra Fairy Gleam. So into this sort of matchup, Iron Hands is amazing, especially because they're not Terra Fairy Miraidon, but also it's very strong into their Trick Room mode. Terra Bug is very useful into this sort of matchup for resisting the other Iron Hands and resisting ground. But they also have the grimmsnarl mode, and into grimmsnarl teams, I am always leading Miraidon plus Fake Out and going for the Fake Out Electro Drift or Fake Out Gleam in some situations, but usually Fake Out Electro Drift into that grimmsnarl to stop screens from going up. So I know I want Miraidon, I know I want Iron Hands, and I know I want Cali Shadow, because Cali Shadow is just amazing. And it's really important into Trick Room matchups because it is my only Pokemon with Protect. And a lot of the time I need to be stalling the Trick Room because my team doesn't function too well in Trick Room. And because I think Iron Hands is so important in this matchup, I kind of want it in the back, which means that if I want to lead Miraidon with Fake Out, it needs to be with Incin. And Incin would probably be coming to this matchup anyway. Parting Shot is really nice into a lot of their team. I can Wisp the Iron Hands. It's just Incineroar. So I'm going for Miraidon, Incineroar with Calyrex Shadow and Iron Hands. And Eden has probably never played a matchup like this before, so they're really having to figure out what to do like on the fly, whilst I sort of know what I'm doing into a lot of matchups like these, because I've played them a lot. I lead Miraidon Incin. I think Miraidon Incin is a crazy lead, it's so strong, and they lead Miraidon Grimmsnarl. And a lot of the times when people have Miraidon instead of Miraidon, it's sort of a mind game, you know, do they Terra, do they not? I know I'm the faster Miraidon because I'm max speed timid. So in this situation, I always just Fake Out the Grimmsnarl and Electro Drift. And I don't even think I need to Terra, especially because they're not Gleam. If they were Gleam, I'd maybe consider it, but probably not. But because they're Terra Electric, all they can hit me with is Draco Meteor. And I'm fine with them hitting me with a Draco Meteor because that would mean that they're -2 and I've gotten rid of their Grimmsnarl. And we do see that they Terra Electric their Miraidon. This is to cover for me going for a Terra Gleam, which is a fairly safe play from me. Maybe it was a better play in this situation, but I kind of wanted to hold on to my Terra, mainly thinking if they get into Trick Room with ursaluna, I'm probably going to need the Terra Bug. And yeah, I go for Fake Out Electro Drift to get rid of the Grimmsnarl turn 1 as it was going for Light Screen. Now, Light Screen would have been really bad for me and would have put me so far behind, I probably would have lost the game if Light Screen went up. However, I stopped it going up because that's what I always do in this matchup, and we just trade Electro Drifts into our Dark types. Incineroar goes down as well, but it's sort of done its job at this point. They're going to take a bit of Rocky Helmet damage, because for some reason they take Rocky Helmet from Electro Drift, which I find really funny. So we just trade our Dark types, but I'm a lot happier with that trade. Getting rid of the screens is really nice in this sort of matchup, because now I can probably just power through them. And because they're Specs Miraidon, Cali Shadow is a really safe switch in here because I have the disable. So in this sort of situation, I can easily just disable that Miraidon, and now I know that that slot is not attacking. And as I'm a Sash Calyrex Shadow, it's always nice to know that you are not going to be getting hit by 2 moves. So now this Iron Hands is in a sort of awkward situations where it wants to Fake Out my Miraidon to stop me doing damage, but then it's not really achieving much. So I can easily go for disabling this Miraidon and probably Electro Drift into it as well. If it doesn't switch, that's still going to do okay damage because they've gotten rid of their Dragon typing, so it's only 2 times resisted. But if they switch into Lunala, I'm breaking Shadow Shield and putting it in range of another Electro Drift. So I go for the disable and I go for the Electro Drift. And you'll just see, this is the power of Specs Miraidon. That's a resisted hit against another Miraidon. And their Electro Drift is disabled, and they Drain Punch me for 50%, which is quite good damage. They luckily don't have Low Kick, which is quite nice for me in this situation as well. And now I'm just in a really safe situation where my Calyrex's Sash is not broken, so I can just Terra Ghost Astral, and I'm probably just stay in an Electro Drift. And in fact, we saw there, I mean, you might not see it because my camera's in the way, but they clicked Fight, which makes them struggle, and that might have been a mistake. They might have not realised that that's sort of what would happen. Like, not that they didn't know that's what would happen, but that's the power of disabling a choice Pokemon. A lot of the time, people will automatically just click Fight, and now they are forced to struggle. I go for the Terraghost Astral Barrage. This is going to get rid of Miraidon and put me at +1, which is huge. Like, anytime that Calyrex can get to +1, it's become such a threat, especially because I've still got my Sash intact. There we go, Calyrex at +1, Calyrex just being the most broken Pokemon ever, and Electro Drift into its Iron Hands. It's gonna still do respectable damage. That still did, what, 80 HP? Like, that's a resisted hit against an AV Iron Hands, and they go for Heavy Slam onto my Calyrex. But at this point, the game should be fairly over. I think that my safest way to win is to just Astral Barrage and to Electro Drift that Iron Hands, because they have to Wide Guard to stop the Astral Barrage, and if they're doing that, they're letting my Miraidon get rid of their Iron Hands. So I don't really know what they can do if I do that play. Okay, but I do go for the Psychic instead. Maybe I'm not sure that the Iron Hands was in Electro Drift range, and I just wanted to guarantee get rid of it. And I know I've got my Iron Hands in the back, and Lunala can't beat a 1v3. So I get to +2 again, and I get another Electro Drift. Very powerful. I've just clicked Electro Drift with my Miraidon this whole time, and it just does so much damage. And they set up Trick Room, but it's a little bit too late for them. So that game 1 was just amazing for me. So I got rid of a Grimmsnarl turn 1. I sort of just got to do everything I wanted to do. It was very obvious that Eden didn't really understand how to approach the matchup, and I really took advantage of that. So in a game 2, how do I think they should adjust? Because I'm not adjusting. My game plan worked perfectly. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm sort of expecting an Ursaluna mode this time. Maybe like Miraidon Lunala lead with Hands Ursaluna in the back. Maybe they could go Grimmsnarl again and go for Terraghost and screens, but that's quite risky for them to do. I do the same lead again. It's just a great lead into this sort of team, and they go with Lunala and Iron Hands. So immediately I know that they're going for a more Trick Room centric game plan. I do have Will-O-Wisp on my Incineroar, so I could just easily try and Will-O-Wisp for that Iron Hands, and I've got my own Iron Hands in the back. So in this sort of situation, I'm not actually sure what I do. I feel like Fake Out into the Iron Hands and Volt Switch on the Lunala is quite strong, but if they just straight switch their Iron Hands into Ursaluna, that doesn't really work out for me, because then they've got... I would probably Volt Switch into Iron Hands and they'd have Ursaluna versus Iron Hands on the field, and they'd have their Terraghost still, which is not very good. So maybe I want to be switching up the Incin in this situation, but I do just go for Fake Out. So if Eden went for the straight switch into Ursaluna on the Iron Hands, they could have put me in a very bad situation. But they decided they wanted to Fake Out because in case I Parting Shot or Knock Off with Incin. So Volt Switch is very nice, it breaks the Shadow Shield, and it lets me bring in my Min Speed Iron Hands. And now my Iron Hands is in a really nice position here, because they're about to set up Trick Room, and that's obviously very nice for me, and I'm Terra Bug. So I probably always Terra Bug here to get rid of my Fairy weakness for this Lunala, and it makes me resist like fighting moves from the opposing Iron Hands. And with Incineroar, I probably want to just switch it out, because it might just be taking a Drain Punch. And I want to have the Intimidate in the back for if Ursaluna comes in. So in this sort of situation, I probably do switch out the Incin, but I'm not sure what into. Because if I'm reading it's Drain Punch and then the Lunala Moonblast the other slot, then Calyrex Shadow is a fairly safe switch in. But Calyrex Shadow is much more important in this matchup than Miraidon at this point, but I might switch in Miraidon because that's the Pokemon I'm most willing to take damage on. But I'm actually not switching. I guess I'm thinking because I've put them to -1, I can just Parting Shot. And we see that my Iron Hands are going for Terra Bug. This is just to not be weak to Fairy and to do... Oh, I've got Fake Out active. That makes sense. So in this sort of situation, I can easily just Fake Out the Iron Hands and Parting Shot for Lunala. Putting Lunala to -1 is very nice because if they switch out, they get rid of their Electric Sea boost. This also somewhat covers for if the Lunala went into Ursaluna, because I put it at -1, and then I can bring the Instant back in and put it to -2. It would have been quite bad this turn if the Iron Hands went into Ursaluna from Eden's slot, but that's quite risky because it's a very fair play for me to just low kick their Iron Hands with mine. So that is a possible play they could do, but instead they're playing it quite safe. But they do get the Moonblast on my Miraidon. I'm happy it's on Miraidon instead of Cali Shadow, because I've still got the Cali Shadow Sash intact. And you can see that the non-stab +1 really doesn't do that much. So in this sort of situation, I think I want to be bringing Incin back in. I've stalled a couple of turns of Trick Room now, but I'm not as worried about the ursaluna and Trick Room because I know I can stall it. They can threaten a lot of damage onto my Miraidon, which isn't very nice. So yeah, I just switch Miraidon into Incin. I get another Intimidate on the Iron Hands. And I believe with my Iron Hands, I just go for Low Kick onto their Iron Hands. Just guaranteeing damage, which is quite nice. Part of me did consider going for Low Kick onto their Lunala. Mainly to try and cover for a ursaluna switch-in, which would have been very bad. But I decided to go for guaranteed damage instead. And it worked out. They go for Drain Punch into my Incineroar, which does a lot of damage, and they go for Moongeist Beam instead of the Moonblast, which works out very well for me as well. Incineroar doesn't take that much damage from that, but did from their Iron Hands. So now I'm in a very good position as well. There's 2 turns of Trick Room left, and they really haven't benefited much from their own Trick Room. And in this sort of situation, I could just fake out their Iron Hands and Wild Charge for Lunala. I need to start doing more damage to the Lunala to stop it getting a second Trick Room up. But I could also do something like Parting Shot for Lunala and Low Kick the Iron Hands. I think in this sort of situation, faking out Iron Hands, their Iron Hands and Wild Charging makes most sense to me. Yeah. So I go for Fake Out and I go for Wild Charge. So, and that does a lot of damage. Like Wild Charge on Iron Hands is so strong. But now both of these Pokemon are in Cali Shadow range and in Miraidon range. But they're basically just +1s for Cali Shadow at this point, which is very nice. And now it's the last turn of Trick Room. So I need to get one of my threats in. So I probably am just going to Parting Shot with the Incin on the Lunala and Low Kick their Iron Hands. By Low Kicking their Iron Hands, I guarantee that they can't get rid of my Incin. Okay, no, I straight switch it. I guess I decided I really wanted the Intimidate. And I bring in Cali Shadow. They're both in Cali Shadow range. This could actually be a Low Kick or Wild Charge. This is probably actually a Wild Charge into the Lunala slot and predicting a fighting move into my Calyrex. So I think that's a bit of a risky play. I could have lost my Calyrex Sash there if they called it. But I guess that's kind of a hard play for them to call. I go for Wild Charge onto the Miraidon, don't do much. That was a very good switch in from Eden, but they go for the Drain Punch onto my Calyrex. And now I have the freest Astral Barrage of my life. And this is sort of what the team does. A lot of the time, this team is just trying to put you in positions where Astral Barrage is going to be guaranteeing a KO, and then you're setting up with your Calyrex by just doing damage. So in this sort of situation, I can probably just Low Kick this Miraidon and Astral. But actually, in this situation, I think I should be Astraling and Low Kicking their Iron Hands. Because if the Iron Hand stays in, it dies to Astral. If the Lunala switches in, it goes down to Astral. If something else switches in, it'll take a Low Kick. And I think that the last Mon on their team is probably Ursaluna. So catching that with a Low Kick is huge. Because Ursaluna is very annoying for Calyrex Shadow and Miraidon to deal with. And we do see that the Ursaluna switches in. But they're going for the Terra. Terra Electric Miraidon, which you don't see much on specs, but I think it makes a lot of sense, and it's really scary to deal with a Terra Electric specs Miraidon. I just go for the Astral. Doesn't affect the Ursaluna, but it'll do a good amount to this Miraidon. It should put it in range of another one. And they go for Electro Drift into my Iron Hands. So I'm Terra Bug, I don't resist this now, but Terrain I don't think is up. And I just about live. I actually lived on 3 HP, which was huge, because it meant I got to get this Low Kick off, which wins me the game. I think if they did get that KO, I still like my position. I probably go into Miraidon and I can just threaten a Draco onto their Ursa and just keep clicking Astral. But my opponent definitely still had outs if they got rid of my Iron Hands that turn, but I lived on 3. So my Iron Hands EV's really paying off, and we do see that they went for the forfeit. I think that this matchup is slightly in my favour. If they have the Specs Fairy Miraidon, it becomes a bit more even, but Eden had the Terra Electric one, which is probably a lot better in some matchups, but in this one it really doesn't work that well. So yeah, that's how I won my top 8 game against Eden. It felt like a very nice win. I honestly feel like that was maybe the best I played in any set during the tournament. So yeah, if you did enjoy this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and yeah.